Hi there, it's Riikka Kovasin here, this time with an art journaling video. I hope you had lovely holidays and maybe got some crafting also done. I'm starting this art journaling spread like so many. This is kind of my go-to starting point. I have two pieces of paper adhered to each other with a washi tape, and these are already cut to the correct size so they fit inside my art journal. And then I use collaging as my first layer. I'm using a Tim Holtz matte medium as my adhesive to adhere these paper pieces to the cardstock. These are from old books, and I'm changing different fonts and orientation of the pieces, so it's more like eclectic looking background, even though I'm then adding layers on top. But I really like the kind of quilt work style of the piece, not putting just one piece but several littles. Maybe it's just the process I enjoy. I'm covering the whole piece with the old book paper pieces, and then in kind of a hindsight I should have dried the layer before adding another one on top. It would have made a whole lot of difference, but in this case I was in a hurry and I just added some white gesso on top and then brayered it to a thinner layer. I also put way too much gesso and ended up brayering some off to another piece of cardstock, so the pattern would still be a little bit visible after the layer. After that, I then dried the layer. Next, some stamping on top. I'm using one ink but two stamps and kind of creating this varying look with two stamps, stamping them on top of each other. Then it's time to add the focal composition, and for that I'm using Finnabair rub-ons. I'm cutting some of the designs loose from the sheet and then start to add them to the background. Now that I have all the elements I want in the page, I then add some color on top. The rub-ons will resist this water-based ink, so I don't need to worry that they get covered. So I'm just adding some ink to my craft sheet, then adding water on top and kind of just dragging the paper through the pool of ink to get a first layer in there. I then clean the transfers a little bit and add another ink layer, this time through a stencil. I'm using the same ink color so they are more vibrant in places where you see the pattern, but the color scheme stays cohesive. The inks I'm using are called brushed corduroy and crushed olive. I'm also adding a little bit of interest by using circular stencil and drawing some circles to the background and then some black splashes. After that, I'm then adhering the pages to my journal. When these pages are inside the journal, I noticed that the background still seems a little bit bare, so I'm adding some pencil doodles here and there. There's just some scribbles and also these lines that, well, made sense to me when I'm doing it. Then I add a little bit of journaling with some text stickers, but well, I was trying to do a one layer art journaling spread, but in the end it looked just, well, too undimensional, too flat, so I decided to add something on top. For that I'm using the rub-ons again. This time I'm rubbing them onto a piece of cardstock so I can get those adhered to my journal with some foam tape. I'm using these camera images. So I rub them to the cardstock, cut them loose and ink around the edges. Before adhering them to the background, I add a little bit of washi tape here and there. It's actually the same tape I used to adhere the two pages together in the beginning. and then use foam tape to adhere the cameras. And after that, the layout is done. Here you can see the finished spread and some detailed shots. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please consider subscribing. And if you're watching this while it goes live or near the time, well, Happy New Year! I'm hoping to see you back on my channel during 2023. Thank you. Bye.